This is the third session of Aikimatya Suktam with Swamiji. A very warm welcome to everybody here. Please indicate on the chat if you would like to ask Swamiji any questions after the class. As usual, the last half an hour will be kept aside for question and answers with Swamiji. We will begin our class this morning with Shri Pradeep Nayathil chanting Aikimatya Suktam. Thank you, Shri Pradeep, for coming forward to chant for us this morning. Pradeep?
Yeah, namaskaram. Shatadharamuksamakshiyamanam vipaschitam pitaram vaktvanam melim madantam pitrorupastetam rodasi pipratam satyavacham. Om Gum Gurubhyo Namah. Gananantva Ganapatim Havamahe Kavim Kavinamupamashravastamam Jyeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Anasrinvannudibhih Sidasadanam. Om Gam Ganapataye Namah. Pavakana Saraswati Vajebhirvajinivati Yajñam Vashtudhyavasu Chodayitri Sunrutanam Chetandi Sumatinam Yajñam Dadhe Saraswati Maho Arnas Saraswati Maho Arnasaraswati Dhiyo Vishwavirajati. Om Sam Saraswati Namah. Vedavatasya Vartani Muro Rishvasya Brihata Vedaye Adhyasate. Om Vam Vedavyasaya Namah. Agnenaya Subhadharaye Asman Vishwani Deva Vayunani Vidwan Yuyodhyasmajjuhuranameno Bhuyishtham Te Nama Uktim Vidhema. Om Gam Dakshinamurtaye Namah. Om Sam Samidyuvase Vrishan Agne Vishwanyajya A Ilaspade Samidhyase Sano Vasunyabhara Sangachadhvam Samvadadhvam Sambo Manam Sijanatam Deva Bhagan Yatha Purbe Sanjanana Upasate Samano Mandras Samidis Samani Samanam Manas Sahachittamesham Samanam Mandram Abhimandrayeva Samanena Vo Havisha Juhomi Samaniva Aguti Samana Hridayaniva Samanamastu Mano Yadhavassu Sahasati.
Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryandam Vande Guru Paramparam. In our last sitting, we have started the first mantra of the Aigamatya Sukta. As we have seen earlier, this Sukta is also called Samana Sukta and Samvada Sukta. Here, the Rishi of the Sukta is Angira Samvananaha. Samvananaha by name, and Angiras, who comes in the lineage of Angiras. In the Sukta, there are two chandas. One is Anushtup and the other Trishtup. That is having 32 aksharas and 44 aksharas, respectively. And the Devata is Agni Sanjanaha. Sanjanaha. One with a great or harmonious, or what we can call holistic knowledge. And who is that? Agni. The first Sukta of Rigveda, there also Devata is Agni. And this is the last Sukta. Here also it is Agni. So Rigveda begins with praising Agni and ends with praying, or along with that prayer, some sort of praising also is there. So here again, Agni is praised or prayed for. We have seen the first half of the first mantra. That is Sam Id Yuvase Vrishan Agne Vishwani Arya Ah. Today we are starting this with the traditional style of chanting. That is according to the Kerala tradition. We have heard how this should be chanted. Of course, there are many types of chantings. There are many sampradayas. And today we started with our Pradeep ji chanting in the Kerala tradition, traditional style. So here, Vrishan, or bestower of everything, or one who showers all boons or everything to the world is Vrishan, Varshati, Vrishan. Or we can say the meaning of Vrishan is Dharma, the embodiment of Dharma. So in both ways we can take the meaning. One who showers everything in our life, or the very embodiment of Dharma. O Vrishan, O Agne, hey Agni Bhagavan, one who is leading the whole world, he is Agni, Agre Nayati. Or one who is taking all our offerings to different devatas, he is Agni. So leader of the whole world, or carrier of all our offerings, he is Agni. Hey Agni, Tvam Aryaha. Aryaha is Aryaha, great, noble, or divine. When we derive that Shabda from the root Dhatu, Rigatau, then the meaning will be most approachable, one who can be approached for help, for guidance, for everything. Or great or noble, Ishwara of everything, Aryaha. Sayanacharya gives this meaning, Ishwara, Aryaha. Vishwani ida sam ayuvase. Ayuvase. Yuvase means you are mixing. The meaning of the dhatu yu is you mishranayoho. So you are mixing everything. That means you are keeping the world or keeping the universal phenomena in a proper order. One who is behind the scheme, that is holding everything together. So you are holding everything together. You will say, you are behind the system of dharma, scheme of dharma. You are holding everything, you will say. Or the verbal meaning is you are mixing everything. Vishwani, you will say everything, or all the worlds. All the worlds you are mixing. Here mixing means keeping everything as it should be. Keeping everything as it should be. That is the mixing here. So this is the first half. Now we are going to the second half. Ilaspade samidhyase sano vasunyabhara. Ilaha pade samidhyase saha naha vasuni abhara. Ilaha pade tvam samidhyase. Samidhyase means you are burning. You are burning. Idhyase. Idhyase is burning. When some is there as the prefix, then it would mean you are burning in the best way. Well burning. Where ilaspade, ilaha pade, ilaha of the earth. Ilaha means of the earth. Ila is earth. Padam is spot or place or yeah, place. Place is the best translation. Padam. Padyade iti padam. That is where we are reaching. That is padam. So here, ilaha pade means ilaha of the earth, sthane, in the proper place or in a proper place. And what is that proper place? Vedikayam. That is in the Vedika. Vedika means where Agnihotra is being performed. Where we are doing yagas, we are performing yagas. Of course, there will be a mandapa, and within that there will be many homakundas. And a platform with homakundas is called the Vedi. That is the Vedi. And another meaning of Vedi is Prithvi, that is earth. But here we need not take that because Ilaha is there. Ilaha means of the earth. So Pade means in the Padam, in the place, in the proper place. That is in the Vedi. In the Vedi, where we are performing this Agnihotra, there Samidhyase, you are burning with flames. With flames you are burning. So this is how Agni is manifested in front of us. There are different types of manifestations for Agni. One is the manifestation we are seeing in this earth, like as in a Vedi, or as in a kitchen, or as in a forest, wherever it is. That is in the physical form of the Agni. Then Agni is manifested in another form in our stomach. That is called Audarya Agni. Audarya Agni. He is responsible for the process of digestion. Then there is another manifestation as gold, silver, like that, metals, in the form of metals. That is also a manifestation of Agni. It is considered so. And in human beings, Agni is also manifested as words. The words we are uttering. That's also a form of Agni. So Agni is manifested in many, many forms. And it is in the unmanifest form in all beings. Whether we call them living or inert. In all beings, everything, there is Agni in the unmanifest form. Here, Agni is in the manifested form. And it is manifested in the Vedi, in the Agni Hotra's Kunda. So Ilaha Pade Sayanacharya says, Prithivyaha sthane, in the proper place in the earth, you are burning with flames. Tvam idhyase. How it is happening? Sayana says, Ritik bihi sandipyase. Ritik bihi sandipyase. You are burning because Ritiks are doing Agni Karma. Because they are doing, you are burning. That is, there is a here in the succeeding mantras, we are going to hear or we are going to study certain messages, the message of unity, message of cooperation and coordinated move. We are going to hear. So here in this commentary, where it is said, you are samidhyase, you are burning well, Sayana gives a hint. It is because why you are burning? Because Ritiks, those who are doing that fire worship, they are doing their works. They are doing their duties. That is why you are burning. So the process of or the phenomenon of your burning is the result of a coordinated or a cooperation. Because they are doing, you are burning. You are burning, they are doing. So there is a relation. So as an effect of that relation, you are burning, you are manifesting here. So this is the fact. Whatever we are getting here is a result of some activity, some relations, some coordinated move is there. So we have to find it out what it is, by which or how this manifestation is happening. And both the parties involved must understand that and respect each other and must act as a part in a chain. Then only this phenomenal world will exist or will be sustained. Here it is not clear. A hint is given in the mantras to come. We will learn that in detail. So, Ritik bihi sandipyase. You are burning because Ritiks are doing that, their duty. Ritik means one who is worshipping or one who is doing the Agnihotra in different Ritus. Ritushu athava Ritau ijyate. Ritu is season. In different seasons, there are different types of yagas or yajnas. And those who are doing that is called Ritik. So there is a connection between you and Ritik. There's a relation. And that relation is to be maintained. They have to they have to bring everything to offer, like ajya, the ghee, purified ghee, and other havis, other materials to offer. There are different materials. So Ritiks must offer everything. That is their part. And your part is you have to burn in flames. And you have to accept all those offerings. When both these are there, then only yajna will be fulfilled. Otherwise not. So yajna is an event of cooperation, mutual relation, mutual respect, everything. So that is why, or that is how you are burning. So Samidhya say, this is how you are manifested here. And now, what is the prayer? These are simple facts. You are burning here. This is a fact. And some Samidhya, you will say that is a fact. There is no prayer at all. That is a fact. Some Samidhya will say, Vishwani Arya, Ilaspade, Samidhya say, all these are facts. And now there is the prayer, Sano Vasunyabhara, Saha Naha Vasuni Abhara. Saha means he. Naha, for us. Vasuni. Vasuni, verbal meaning is dress materials. Vasu achadane. The dhatu, vasu means to cover. So things we are using to cover ourselves is vasu. That is dress materials, vastra. Vasuni also means wealth. Money, wealth. Abhara. Abhara means bring. You bring. And here it is abhara. Abhara means you bring. So we have to add you, tvam. So here saha, we have to add tvam with that saha. Sa tvam. Then it will mean that you. Sa means he. Tvam means you. So saha tvam means that you. Which you? Who is burning with flames and who is mixing everything or holding everything, and who is the controller of all the manifestations, Aryaha, who is the bestower of everything, that is Vrishan, and who is the carrier of all our offerings, Agni, or who is leading the whole humanity, he is Agni. So that you please bring what? All wealth and money. We want wealth. In this life, we must have wealth. When we are living in this world, in this society, to do anything and everything, we must have money with us. For all activities. This is not a sukta of sannyasins. This is not a sukta connected with renunciation. No. In the world we are living, we must have money. And how we are earning, there are different ways. For example, students, they are studying. They are studying, or they are supposed to study. So they cannot work while studying and get money for them for their study purpose. So the society is supporting them in the form of mother, in the form of father, in the form of government. Society is supporting them. And they must learn. They must get themselves into a position to work and get money. And when they are householders, they must work well. And they must get money. They must spend for students also. And those who are spreading the knowledge, which is sustaining the system, the dharma, which is keeping the dharma in the order, or those who are teaching different branches of knowledge, that is teachers, college professors, and those who are teaching in the society. They are getting their proper share from the society. So whoever he be, whether a student or a householder or a sannyasi, whoever he be, he must have some sort of money with him. He must have. So it is prescribed for sannyasins to go for bhiksha. That is the dharmic way for them to collect money. But they must have. In the same way, students must have. So in this society, to live, we must have wealth or money. Here it is prayed for. You are Vrishan. That is, you are the bestower of everything. Or you are reigning the wealth. So you give us. Abhara, you bring us. Vasuni. It is the plural form, Vasuni, of Vasu. Vasu means wealth. Vasu means dress. So all types of dress materials you bring and give us. Or all wealth you bring us and give us. We want wealth. It is you who have to give that wealth. So it is prayed for here. So this is the first mantra. Even in the Upanishads, this is a Samhita part, the last sukta of Rik Samhita. But let us remember, even in the Upanishad part, there are such prayers. Let me have fame in the whole society. Let me have all sorts of wealth. Let me have many, many cows. Why? Because it is prayed, let students from all parts of the world come to me. Amayantu brahmacharinaha. Amayantu brahmacharinaha. Let students from all the world, from everywhere, let them come to me. For what? For study. I can teach them and I will teach them. I have this knowledge, so I will share with them. And while teaching, I must give them food. I must give them shelter. I must give them dress materials. For that, I want wealth. I want money. I want dress materials. So it is prayed for. Even in the Upanishads, we can see such a prayer in the Taittiriya Upanishad. Amayantu brahmacharina swaha, pramayantu brahmacharina swaha, shamayantu brahmacharina swaha, damayantu brahmacharina swaha, yashojane asani swaha. So many prayers. Lyomasham pashubhi saha swaha, amayantu. So many prayers are there. So some may ask why we are praying for money and wealth. Replies, we must have it. We must have money. We want money in this society. While we are staying here, while we are living here, some sort of money we want. And what we are praying for, we will work to get. It is that not that simply you are praying and sitting idle at one place. No. What you are praying, for that you will work, if that prayer is coming from your heart. Otherwise, your lips will pray for something and you won't work for that. It is meaningless. If you are praying from the heart, there is no doubt it will make you work. Not that you will work, it will make you work. So you will work for that. So that is the meaning or the sense behind this prayer. It is not for simply sitting at one place and pray. Oh, Agni, give me this, give me that. You please give me all wealth, all the wealth, all dress materials. And sitting idle, expecting Agni will bring. How Agni will bring? Agni cannot bring a dress material. You can offer your harvest to the Agni, and when Agni touches, what happens we know. So how Agni will bring me dress materials? If somebody is giving dress materials to Agni within minutes, it will become ash. So Agni cannot bring. But we are praying to Agni. That means with this conviction, it makes our conviction strong. And with that conviction, we will work. We will work for that. We will work for that. It will give a sort of a positive outlook. Yes, Agni, who is the bestower of everything, who is the controller of everything, is with me. I had prayed to Agni. So help from the Agni will be there. With that positive outlook, we can work hard to have money and wealth. Vasuni abhara, you bring. Abhara means you bring. Vasuni, all the wealth, all the dress materials you bring. This is the first mantra of Aigamatya Sukta. Now we will go to the second mantra in our next session. So let us see once more this mantra. Samsametyuvase vrishannagne vishwanyarya a ilaspade samidhyase sano vasunyabhara. So whatever doubt you have to ask, you can. If I know, I will reply. Namaste.
Namaste. The first question is from Sri Venudas ji.
Namaste, Swamiji.
Namaste. Namaste.
Swamiji, we grihasthas, they are truly trapped with a lot of conflictions and sorrows because of mamata bodham. How we can avoid or reduce the intensity of this pain?
Namaste. See, these sorrows as the effect of mamatva is there not in the case of grihasthas alone. Brahmacharis, grihasthas, vanaprasthas, and sannyasins, whoever he be, will have pain and sorrow if he have this within mamatva. How it is coming? His ways are inscrutable. It is not easy to explain that, how it is coming. This is mine. This is mine. I am the owner of this. We cannot explain how it is coming. But we can say this much. His ways are inscrutable. See, we have this mamatva first with the body and with the name. Our first mamatva is with his body. This is my body. This is my body. And with the name also. If you are shouting, calling Swami Chidanandapuri with something unacceptable to me, then I will get angry. I will try my best to suppress it or cover it and pose outside as if I am not at all perturbed. But it will give more and more stress with it. Why? Because of the attachment with that name, Swami Chidanandapuri. I am taking my example. And see who gave us this name first. When I was a small kid, a little baby, there was no specific name for me. Somebody called this, somebody called that. And on the 28th day, a name was fixed. And slowly, when I grew up, an attachment with that name developed. Actually, I am not that. It's a name given by somebody else. Given by somebody else. I have heard it was proposed by father's mother. And slowly I got attached with that. And I learned, or I started studying Vedanta. And through the studies, I understood it is meaningless. I am not that name. I am Atman, and Atman do not have name. That much things I learned. But still I had attachment with that. So I decided to change that name. And one day, I changed that name. From today onwards, I will not use that name. And this will be my new name. I took another name. Then I wandered here and there. I was a wandering monk then. Somehow reached Gujarat Madhavananda Ashram. It was on an evening. When Swamiji saw me first, he said, "We can put your name as Swami Chidananda." So that name also gone, a new name came. Slowly attachment developed with that name. I am Swami Chidananda. And after 2 years, I accepted sannyasa in the traditional way. And after that, the Puri name was suffixed to that. So Swami Chidananda Puri. Why all these changes came? Why we are changing these names? Just to teach ourselves there is no meaning in name. There is no meaning in disattachment. In this world of many, we must recognize who is who. And that is why name is given. There is no other purpose for name. But still, how we are clinging to that. How we are getting attached to that. Just think. And the next is with his body. That is name and form. Nama, Rupa. That is the first attachment with his body. Always this is changing. When I was a small kid, I had that attachment with this. And not even a single part is there in this body identical with that of that kid. Everything changed. All the body parts changed or developed, you can say. But still I am having that attachment with this body. Daily, how many millions of organic cells are decaying, and how many millions are being developed. This process is going on. Millions and millions of organic cells are having birth and death all the day. And I am having the same attachment with this. Just imagine the meaninglessness in that. But still we are having that. And then comes the attachment with things and the people connected with this body. This is my mother. This is my father. This is my brother. This is sister. This is my friend. This is my enemy. Both are attachments. Attached with a friend, attached with enemy. One is in a positive way, one is in a negative way. Then my wife, my husband, this, that, or things connected with. Of course, we must have love. We must love everything. We must love everybody. And it must end there. It must end there. If we are attached to anything, of course, it will make us cry. Priyam tuam rotsyati. There is a mantra in the Veda. Priyam tuam rotsyati. It will make you cry. When you are attached to something, it will make you cry. Don't be attached. When I signed on a paper, she became my wife. We are husband and wife. And now I signed on another paper in front of two witnesses. Now she is my ex-wife. No relation. She is no more my wife. See, what made her my wife and what made her my ex-wife? A signature. And what is that signature? Some lines with curves drawn on a paper. See? This is my land. How many generations claimed that? My father showed me, oh my son, this is my land. This is our ancestral property. You will have this much share in this. And that father died. Land is there. Whose land? Now another man is claiming, I am the owner of this land. And what about the old claim? Just imagine. I am saying this is my body. And fire is waiting. I am the owner. So give me that. And there are millions and millions of worms. They are waiting. They are waiting. How many organic cells are there in this body? I don't know. But I know there are more than 100 trillion organic cells. But there are microbes more than that in number. In our body, there are more microbes than organic cells. Then who is the owner? Just imagine this. So to all unwanted parts, this attachment let me. This attachment created whole havocs in my life. I was carried to all problems only because of this attachment. So just imagine again and again the havocs this demon is doing. So how we can get rid of this attachment? There is no other way. There is only one way, and that is the path of vichara. Vichara, contemplation, discrimination. Think within, who am I? And when that is established, we will realize the meaningless of all other things like attachments. So love everybody, love everything without being attached. Then that love is free. Then it is full. When attachment comes, it is limited. When it is limited, of course, a feeling of possessiveness will come with that. And this is giving all miseries in our life. Whatever misery we have is a product of this attachment and possessiveness. Love without possessiveness. That must be our ideal. There is no meaning in possessiveness. I am thinking my husband is my husband. My husband or my wife. What is the meaning in that? He or she have their own individuality. They have their own right. Who can say, she is not a slave of me? He is not a slave of me. He or she have their own individuality. I must accept that. I cannot keep my slave. I cannot keep or think my husband as my slave. No, they have their own individuality. I must accept that and allow that. So love we can, but possessiveness, there is no meaning in that. So think in like this. And do swadhyaya. And of course, Shastra will again and again teach us what is our real nature. So recognizing our real nature means immediately we are overcoming or we are transcending this petty limited possessiveness. Both will not go together. That is the only way. Vichara. Namaste.
Namaste. Next question is from Girija Navaneet ji. Girija ji, please unmute and ask.
Namaste, Swamiji.
Namaste, namaste.
Could you please suggest a few textbooks from which I can get information about the Dhatu Rupas, the origin of the Sanskrit and Malayalam words, like Padyade, just now Swamiji said, the Padyade iti Padam, Prithivya Sthane Pade. How can I learn such basics of words?
Yeah, I got it.
Yes.
See, when we study Vyakarana, automatically that knowledge will come. Because Vyakarana is the science dealing with how words are developed. Vyakriyande padani. This is Vyakarana. And in the case of Samskrita, there is Paniniya Dhatu Patha. It is an appendix to the sutra. And all the dhatus are there. All the dhatus are there. And if you are studying the basics of Vyakarana, not the higher studies I am meaning, the basics of Vyakarana, then we will be introduced to different dhatus and how they are developed to padas. That we will know for ourselves. That never means all the dhatus we will get introduced with. No. But some important dhatus and their rupas we will familiarize. And when we have that basic knowledge, and when we read authoritative commentaries written by scholars, whatever be their darshana, whether it is acceptable or not acceptable to us. But he is a scholar in the traditional way. Of course, he will give explanations or derivations of each and every word. So by doing Swadhyaya, naturally that ability to understand how a word is formed, that will come. And along with that, there is Nirukta. There is Nirukta, and many commentaries are there for Nirukta. So through this Swadhyaya, slowly that ability that will come. And of course, we have to learn the samasa part also. Samasa we have to learn. But forgive me, I cannot suggest some shortcut ways or some books from which you can have this knowledge. That I don't know. That aspect, I didn't see such books. Of course, in the market, there will be many books, and in the internet also, you will get many books, there is no doubt. But as for me, I had not seen such books, so I don't know which are they. But of course, you will get. And we can try to have talks with some others. And of course, I will try to answer your question. But as for me, I don't know such books now. Namaste.
Thank you, Swamiji. Thank you.
Namaste. Next question is from Sri Venudas ji.
Namaste, Swamiji.
Namaste.
Swamiji, would you please explain us what are the differences from sadhana, upasana, tapas, please?
See, all this we have to understand according to the context where we are using such words. Sometimes they are used as synonyms. In some places, they are used as synonyms. But even then, there are differences in their meaning, and that we can study. But while studying these differences, we must understand, according to the context, they will be taken. See, sadhana. Sadhana means sadhyate anaya iti sadhana. Sadhyate anaya iti. By which or through which we are getting. That is sadhana. Getting something. See, there is a goal. There is a goal. How we are getting that? That way, that method, that is sadhana. Sadhyate anaya iti sadhana. I want to reach there. That is the sadhyam. And sadhana is walking. I have to walk to reach there. Or catching a bus or a car or some conveyance, some means of conveyance. So that is the sadhana. I have to understand the meaning of a text. That is the sadhyam. So the sadhana is reading. I have to quench the thirst within. Then drinking water is the sadhana. So sadhana differs. What is the sadhyam? Accordingly, sadhana differs. So sadhana means the way or the means to get something. Sadhyate anaya. That is sadhana. And according to the difference in the sadhyam, we will categorize sadhana into different types. For example, when the sadhyam is something daivika, connected with the other worlds, then sadhana will be daivika sadhana. When the sadhyam is adhyatmika, that is the knowledge of the highest or the reality, highest reality, then sadhana is adhyatmika sadhana. So that means, according to the sadhyam, sadhana differs. Now you can explain for yourself. Now we can come to the next subject, that is upasana. Upasana. Upasana, it comes from the dhatu asu, and there is the upasarga upa. And the pratyaya ana is there. So it would mean sitting near, living near, being near. That is discarding or getting rid of all differences and crossing all distances, sitting together, living together, feeling that nearness. That is upasana. See, with the help of constant remembrances, constant worships, constant contemplation, now the ideal, let it be Ishvara, let it be some devatas. I am crossing or transcending all limitations and distances and being or living together, very near to that. That is upasana. And in our common usage, we are using the term upasana as a sadhana to reach at something, to realize the highest, to be one with the highest. So when we are taking upasana as a sadhana, it is concentrating, it is making all our mental energy focused. All practices to make that mind focused is upasana. So the highest meaning of upasana is being together, living together, sitting near. That is the highest meaning. And the ways and means we are adapting to reach at that also is upasana. That is making our own mind focused. That is upasana. Bhagavan Bhashyakara, Shankaracharya, gives an exhaustive definition to the Shabda Upasana. In one of the Bhashyas, Bhagavan Bhashyakara defines Upasanam nama yatha shastram upasyasya arthasya vishayikaranena samipyam upagamya taila dharavat samana pratyaya pravahena tirghakalam yadasanam tadupasanam achakshate. Upasanam nama. Upasana means yatha shastram upasyasya arthasya vishayikaranena. That is, by making something as your subject. By making something as your subject, and that something must be scientifically proven. Yatha shastram. Making something your subject. Now, when you are making something your subject, it is near you. It is within your mind. There are two objects. There are two objects, or there are two things in the very room where you are sitting. But you are not looking at that. You are not focusing on that. Or you are not objectifying that. Then it is not entering into your mind. It is there. You are there. There is no connection. But when you are making it a subject, means you are objectifying it. Then that material is within you. A connection is there. A relation is maintained. And then it is very near to you. Samipyam upagamya. Getting that nearness, establishing that nearness. Taila dharavat samana pratyaya pravahena. And once that relation is established, or when that connection is established, now your mind is flowing. Like what? As if you are pouring oil from one bottle to another. When we are pouring water from one bottle to a tank, it will be poured in not in an orderly way. But oil, tailam, we can pour as if a line, without movement. If we are not shaking the bottle, if we are pouring very slowly, then like a line, it will flow from one bottle to another. So like that, without interruptions, if our mind is focused on that is upasana. And that life is called upasana. That means it is not something you are doing for half an hour a day, or 15 minutes a day, or 2 hours a day. No, it is a life, the whole life you are living. Na shanmasam, na sambalsaram. That's a life. That pattern of life is called upasana. So first thing is, you are focusing on something, then it is making an object. There a relation or a connection is established. And now you are continuously pouring your own mind to that. And you are living. That is upasana. See, why we need to do all these upasana and such things? Because our mind is wandering here and there. What we want is a focused mind. Nothing else. We want inner concentration, mental focus. Now it is not focused. Now it is wandering here and there. To all unwanted parts, it is moving. Now we have to catch it back. And we have to make it focused. And for that, there must be some objects to catch it back. Because mind is wandering behind a name and form. He or she or that. Behind names and forms, it is running. So we must have, or we must utilize the help of names and forms to catch it back. So we can utilize the names of different devatas. We can make use of forms of different devatas. So making use of such help, that is Yadhashastram. That's something to focus on. And we are trying again and again. Of course, in the course of that practice, mind will vacillate. There's nothing wrong. Because it is its practice, it will go. But with our constant practice, we can catch him back. Yato yato nischarati manaschanchala asthiram tatastato niyamyeirad atmanyeva vasham nayet. Catch him from that point from which he is running behind many objects. Catch from that, catch from the source itself. Now with constant practice, we can do this upasana. That practice itself is upasana. And see, we are trying to have perfect control over our own mind. We are trying to make it focused. And this mind is much influenced by our food. So the help of such external things as food, our habits, all these things must be considered. So that is upasana. And the third subject was tapas. Tapas is a part of upasana. Tapas is a part of upasana, or it's a part of sadhana. And what is tapas? The verbal meaning is heating. Heating. Giving heat to something, that is tapas. And that is for purifying. Agni is pavaka. That makes everything pure. So to discard impurities, we are using tapas. In the same way, to get rid of the impurities within our mind, tapas is prescribed. There are many definitions for tapas given by great acharyas. Even the verbal meaning is heat or heating. According to context, the meaning will change. And many acharyas have given many definitions. One of the best definition is given by Bhagavan Vedavyasa. Manasas chendriyanam cha haikagryam paramam tapaha. Manasas chendriyanam cha haikagryam paramam tapaha. The greatest tapas is manasas cha indriyanam cha haikagryam. Haikagryam. Making focused. But the mind and the senses. That is, to make our senses and mind focused is tapas. So whatever be the ways and means we are adopting, what we are doing to make our own mind focused is tapas. That is tapas. Let it be japa, let it be dhyana, let it be pranayama, let it be puja or padha, whatever it is. The ways and means we are adopting to make our own mind and senses focused are parts of tapas. And while we are living in this world, the dharmic life we are following here is tapas. Bhagavan Bhashyakara writes, Savarnashrama dharmena tapasa. That is performing one's own dharma according to varna and ashrama is a tapas. It's a tapas. So a student studying is a tapas. A householder doing his dharma is a tapas. So understand other cases also. And Bhagavan in the Bhagavad Gita divides tapas into three forms. That is the tapas we are doing with the body, tapas we are doing with the words, tapas we are doing with the mind. Shariram, Vachikam, and Manasikam. So three types of tapas are there. What are they? What are these three types that we can take in our next sitting? That is three types of tapas. However, we have to understand this much. Tapas is a part of sadhana or upasana. And it is to purify our own mind and intellect. It is to make our senses and mind focused. And whatever be that, such actions, such life, such practices, of course, will constitute tapas. Namaste. We can continue in our next sitting. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sah Viryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.